Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. We are back. It's me, Sal Paradiso, with my buddy Ben Ziegler. We are officially in the tail end of the auction. What a fucking hoot that's been. That's going to be the major focus of our pod today. But we're going to start off with the final pieces of the divisional NFL divisions and kind of our rankings on that. Based off of the reaction we got from our 4 hour last pod, we're probably going to keep this one short because we only had about 3 people actually listen to it. So we don't do this for you guys, though. We do it for Ben and I. Without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the AFC West.
Real quick, Corey, I'd just like to make a comment that you are undefeated in this new season of cursing in the intro, which is good, which I've
Did I
heard
say it?
is.
Did I cuss again?
Yeah,
Jeez.
you dropped an F-bomb. It's totally fine. I mean, we are not a PG-13 or below type of podcast, but it is funny because
I don't even.
I don't know if this even matters anymore, but I did hear that like you're supposed to try and avoid cursing in the first 30 seconds. But I don't care. I love it. We're gonna get flagged from a bunch of sissies that shouldn't be listening
I'll tell
to
you
us
what.
anyways. Hard-skinned fools only.
Here's the deal. It is the Dynasty Podcast. We've come a long way from me showing my butthole on camera. So I think a couple swear words here and there, probably not in the first 10 seconds, is a good idea. But if we get to 10 comments on this pod, I will promise if I cuss again in the first minute of the next pod after that, I will, I don't know, what's the bet? I will shave my head on a one guard or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. I don't want to shave my head, but I could do it.
I'd probably say you just should probably reenact that famous 4th of July photo with your American Speedo on a live stream. That might
It's
be
fu-
that
it's
might
funny.
be a better one.
My brother sends that to me every year, and he says Happy Fourth, and I'm like, this year he sent it to me like clockwork, and I'm like, Brandon, that picture is not replicable at this point. I was a much more limber and intoxicated man in those days. So
If I still have that photo on my computer, I might use it as the screen opener for this podcast.
it's just so it's so good. It's a great photo. It was not
We
really
have to do
planned.
it now. I mean, we already built up like now. Okay, now if we find it and put it on, then people will have actually answered the question.
Oh, I have
like,
it. I get it every year in
Okay.
my text messages.
It's
But
gonna be the opening screenshot. So before you click on this pod, hopefully you see that. If we didn't find it and I disappointed you, I'm sorry.
so just as a reference of that, I had not been back to the States with my son ever, and I show up on the 4th of July. I think I was probably about 160 pounds back then, and I'm pretty tall. I'm like 6'3", so I was deadly skinny. I don't even know how I got the money to get back to the States, to be quite honest. And I was white, extremely white, for living in Costa Rica as long as I had. I don't know how. I must have not left during the day very often. But anyway, it's a good memory. It's a good photo. Yeah, it'll live on forever. All right, so let's start with the AFC West again. Denver Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers. I'll let you go first, Ben.
So I think this is a juicy year for this division. I actually really like both these divisions that we're doing today because I kind of think they're like must-see TV. And I was usually pretty bored of this division. It's the Chiefs, and it's just like Taylor Swift and the. But now we have Pete Carroll with the Raiders.
Yep.
Harbaugh in his second year. I think his second year he went to the NFC Championship game with the 49ers. I might need to be fact checked on that, but it was fast. Like he turned that program around pretty quick. And Sean Payton This will be a spoiler alert for like a segment that I will we'll figure out when we should do it, Corey. After the auction for sure. But like I want to, by default of this crazy 32 team league that we're in, I just started trying to understand the cap of every NFL team.
Mm.
I have gone through 20 of the teams, every single contract, as they're written, how long they're there, how much money you can save by cutting them. Psycho shit. Which is just, what you do when you're like waiting to bid on some, fourth backup of a D end or linebacker like we're doing in this league at this point. But it just got me thinking, like, I found so much information so interesting. And the reason I bring this up, and yes, we will have this segment, it'll be called, I don't know, show me the money or something like that. We'll figure it out. But the Denver Broncos are, like, really interesting on how their cap is. And, like, one example was, like, their wide receivers. Like, it's crazy. Everyone you would name to me that you're like, yeah, but that's a guy. But that's a guy. Like, everyone's just being paid $1 million. Like, nobody's making a lot of money.
Except for
like,
maybe Sutton, right?
Sutton's the only guy getting paid. And, like, look, for kicks, I'm just going to bring this one up. I won't, like, really bore everyone with, like, the cap stuff until we get into it. But the Denver Broncos was super interesting. They had certain things that I was like, okay. One of them actually was specifically I was thinking was that maybe I need to rethink RJ Harvey a little more. Because I was really like, you got this DK Dobbins. He comes in and gets $2.5 million 1 year. Okay, great. That's a 1 year contract. Then you look, it's like Estime's $1 million for 3 years, so he might be around. McLaughlin's $1 million for 1 more year, and that's it. That's all they got. Now the funny thing is, I don't know if you heard about this, Corey, but no second round picks have signed their contract yet.
Yeah, only Higgins, I think, just signed.
He's the only one because he was kind of straightforward, or like the Texans didn't give a shit. Or I think maybe they did something. So the whole problem is there's a couple like pieces these agents are waiting to fall. And like I know one of them is the Saints quarterback because like he's supposed to start probably. So it's like, the agent's going hard at guaranteed money. And then it's like, oh, well, you guarantee money there. And I think Houston guaranteed all of Higgins' money or guaranteed a lot more than you normally do. Anyways, this basically the whole thing is like it's crazy because nobody was signed as a second rounder, and then Judkins got apex fucked because of that. Because Judkins is a second rounder. He hasn't even gotten a contract, and now he has this domestic abuse case. They could be like, we'll pay you $500,000. Like,
right,
piss off.
Yeah.
So like it's this stalemate like that's never happened before. Like second round picks are usually the first to go before the first, and like their second and thirds are usually straightforward. This year, for whatever reason, it wasn't, and like it's crazy because that fallout with Judkins. Well, but even so, Harvey hasn't signed. But the point being, like, okay, so that's super interesting. It's like, all right, I'm getting long-winded here, but I notice in their contract they have extreme flexibility for the future, and they have guys that they like on long-term deals. But like, do you know who has the second best contract outside of Sutton? It's like, spoiler alert, I think he's still available in BC.
I don't know.
Trent Sherfield, 2 years. 2 years, $6 million.
I would have figured it was a linebacker.
No, sorry. No, this is wide receivers. Sorry, the wide receivers.
Okay.
So it's Sutton. Sutton's getting $20 million this year, and then they can cut bait. Like he has like 3 years dead money, and then it's over.
Well, they have 7 young wide receivers that they have taken flyers on that are all
Right,
in
but
the
like
less than 4
in a
years.
weird way, we kind of like, well, they got to be committed to these guys, right? Because like whatever, but it's like Mims is 1.6 and then 1.9. He's probably the most safe. Pat Bryant, they just signed, but he's $1 million this year, like $1.5 million next year. But he's a 4-year contract, so in theory he's safe. But Troy Franklin, he's $1 million. A.T. Perry is
Pele,
1 year, 1 million. Vele's 900,000, right? Like,
yeah,
and then it's like if you have
and a rookie deal on the quarterback.
and a rookie deal on the quarterback, so it's like, man, like these guys, as soon as they get Sutton off the books, like who they
Yeah, I
paying?
just
Who they
I
paying? Like they could like literally go out and sign. Like I haven't like gone into the what their future cap hits are, but they could probably go in and sign like a powerhouse next year. And I think they're a playoff team this year.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? So I think you hit on it on one really good point. I think it's the best um, head coaching staff in the entire league in this division. I mean, like you said, you have Andy Reid, you have Sean Payton, you have Pete Carroll, and you have Harbaugh. Name another division that has 4 Hall of Fame level coaches in it, right? And I think that's gonna. I mean, obviously, to me, also, I think a lot of people think of these teams as being offensive minded, but the defenses have really like won the most games for the Chiefs in the last few years. Like I think they'll be
Yeah.
improved on offense. I think the Broncos will probably regress a little bit just because the division I think is going to be a little bit tougher. And I think the Chargers are going to take a step forward because they're now have a second year of Harbaugh. They're going to be kind of playing by his culture and his demands, and he's got his players in there the way he wants to be doing it. So, I mean, to me, it's the Chiefs are the darling of the division. I don't think anybody's going to surpass them. I think they'll win 2 to 3 more games than anybody else, and then I think it's between the Chargers and the Broncos, which is going to be like a 9-8, or maybe one of those teams gets to 10 wins. I'm not sure. And then the Raiders, I think, are going to be competitive, but I just don't think that they have enough pieces, to surpass those 3 teams. So I would go the Chiefs. I would go. I'm going to go with the Chargers finishing second, the Broncos finishing third in a close, heated battle to see who's the team that makes it into the playoffs, and then the Raiders finishing last.
Yeah, I think they're going to have 3 teams in the playoffs in this division.
Oof, interesting.
I think the Broncos, the Chargers are now having like again like that to go back to this cap thing, but remember like they're like eating like 50 milli of like Russell Wilson's contract every year.
Yeah,
I think that's up like next year. But like it's crazy not just how good Sean Payton is, but like they're like, okay, cool. Like we have less cap. Like where are we gonna punt nonstop, and where are we gonna like try and secure? And it's working. Like they have a good roster. Bo Nix worked out. I think they have all the kinds of receivers they need to have. They added Ingram. I think that's frisky. Like I really believe in Harbaugh and the way he builds teams and the way he builds his fronts and the way he, coaches. But I also feel like we might be underselling Pete Carroll because we feel like he kind of got old in Seattle, and it's like, maybe Pete Carroll's not Pete Carroll. But there's one story that came out recently that I thought was super fascinating, and I think this is bad for Seattle, but like Metcalf came out, and I think Tyler Lockett confirmed this, that while Pete Carroll is there, Pete Carroll puts responsibility on players to come up with tape study and recommendations and suggestions of how their position can expose defenses, and then they have discussions about it. So even more so, like they look at tape, they will look at a defense that they're about to play and be like, I think this play, this play, this play is going to be very good, that I'm involved in. And then they pull together, and then like these plays get used, right? And they said both of these wide receivers said that they did it for 4 or 5 weeks, and they used 0 plays so that they recommended, and then they stopped doing it. And now, so Metcalf's talking about this because it's like a similar culture in Pittsburgh where they want him to do that again. And it was a weird under the bus, that makes me a little worried about what's going on in the offense, at least, of Seattle. But it also made me go like, man, Pete Carroll and these coaches, like they're apex delegators, and they want players who have their strengths to tell them what they think they can do against a defense as they're studying it. They're not telling them what they have to do. And that's a really interesting cultural thing, and especially when you go somewhere like the Raiders, who's been incredibly dysfunctional and incredibly not empowering to players, and just like every story out of Las Vegas has been really bad, And what if Pete Carroll turns that around and the players are all bought in, It's super interesting division. It's a really interesting division.
I agree. I think it's a fascinating division. I just don't, I think Kansas City is consistently doubted, and I think they're going to be better this year than they were last year. I feel like they're transitioning into, they're going to throw the ball a lot, I think, and they're going to open it up. They have so much speed and so much talent on the outside and the slot. I mean, coming out of the backfield, they have a couple of guys. I think I just don't see, and they're sound on defense, and it's just I think they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I would not count them out. I just don't feel like anybody's going to compete with them. But I can easily see the rest of the teams, battling between 8 and 10 wins, and maybe the 3 of them deciding,
I think that's a division you don't want to play this year. Maybe Oakland will just be Oakland, or sorry, Las Vegas. But I think there's a play. I don't have a lot of hot takes on the order. I'm really not confident. I agree with you. I think you have to see Kansas City as a favorite. But of any division, I really, really, really maybe the NFC North. Who outside of maybe the Raiders winning the division would you be surprised, and how surprised will you be if the Raiders won the division? I personally, right now, would be I don't know, a 5 out of 10. Not I wouldn't be blown away shocked, but I'd be pretty impressed. But if the Broncos or Chargers win the division, I'd be yeah. I mean,
I just thought, first of all, I don't think anybody's scared to go to Los Angeles and play.
No.
I think going to Denver's tough to play, and I think going to Kansas City's tough to play, and I think the Raiders is not. I mean, we'll see, right?
I think the same could have been said about San Francisco, but they held a pretty dominant run for a while.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean,
they have better fans in LA. That's not fair.
Oh, the Chargers are the worst.
But they are not on. But they're not on the par with
I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm the Bears and you're looking at everybody else than Kansas City, I'm not worried about winning that game on the road or at home. I think it's a tough game. Obviously, every game in the NFL is tough, but I just don't see them as dominant teams. But I think they're solid teams. So I think those actual divisions are pretty comparable, if you ask me. I think those are probably 2 of the toughest divisions in football. So we'll see. Yeah. I think it's
I have to pick an order. So I'll pick an order. Yeah. I'm not going to go super crazy, but I will say I will go Kansas City, San Diego, or sorry. Chargers. I'll go Chiefs, Chargers, and then we'll go Broncos, and then the Raiders, and I think the Raiders win 8 or 9 games,
Yeah.
and I think the other three get into the playoffs.
All right. I mean, that's a interesting assessment. I think two get in, and I think it's a battle between the Chargers and the Broncos, and as to who claims that second spot. And I think the other ones will probably fade at some point in the season, but I think it's a tough division for sure. And I could see the Chiefs losing a couple of road games, and not going 13-3 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think
So
that division is going to beat each other up pretty good. I think it'll
yeah.
be. I think every one of those division games are like must see TV. Like I think they're
I'd
going to
have to
be.
look at their entire schedules to actually break down, like, which games I think they win, which I did not do because I did not prepare that much for this. But
Think about the top to bottom matchups we have. Like every single coach is in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, that's what I said. I think there's
It's
no other
crazy. It's like
the
crazy.
legendary.
Yeah, Andy Reid, Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and Sean Payton all have
Yeah,
been
they're
to
all,
Super Bowls, right? Like they're they're legends. Like it's
well,
really interesting.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to the NFC West. We got the Rams, the Cardinals, the Niners, and the Seahawks. I'll go first on this one. Um, I'm just going to do my predictions and then open it back up to you. I think the Rams were going to win the division. I think the 49ers will finish second. And I think the Cardinals will finish third with the Seahawks struggling this year and finishing dead last. I think the Cardinals will be improved. I don't know if I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they can probably win 7, 8 games. And then I think the Rams, I'm not bought in for the 49ers this year. I think they have a lot of issues going on there. I think there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of questions about wide receivers and health and kind of new guys filling roles, like how McCaffrey is going to hold up. You don't want to doubt Kyle Shanahan. And I think their over under is like 10.5 wins, and it's just like if I was a gambling man again, I would be betting the under on that.
Yeah.
I think they're going to struggle more this year than people think. But I'll have to be proven right on that. The Rams, I just think with Stafford healthy, um, you know McVay doing his thing. I just feel like they were just so close to beating the Eagles last year in a shit fucking storm of a game. And I don't know. I just like kind of the way that they handle their business, and I feel like they're the ones that are going to be tough to beat towards the end of the year, and when things get close. I just would put the ball in Stafford's hand over anybody in that division as far as the quarterback position. And the Seahawks, I just feel I'm not buying into anything that they're doing. Like we've talked about before, I'm not sure about Darnold and how he's going to produce in a new environment. I'm not sure about their running backs. I don't know if the Legion of Boom still exists at all or anything anymore. So I just feel like they're a 5 or 6 win team at best. So I don't think it's a division that will get 2 teams in. I think definitely. Well, I think they will get 2 teams. I think the Rams and the Niners will make it to the playoffs in a wild card type format.
Yeah, so like this is another this is a very hard division for me, and I've probably changed my mind since I don't know, even a few weeks ago. This is just like when you pay too much attention to the NFL in the off season, you're probably not doing yourself any good. But I slowly like have been getting more and more down on Seattle as well. I didn't really, that really like was a shock to me that, you know, culturally built, you have these veteran wide receivers who are like, we've been doing this for years. Like, we want to be part of this process. And they're like, yeah, well, you're on the way out. So fuck off, and it's like, okay, cool. So like, is this their year? Is this the game plan? Is their offensive coordinator a donkey? I think Mike Donald is like proven in Baltimore he's an absolute G of a defensive mind. So like I think they're going to be good in defense, like, so how much does that get them? But I'm down on them too. I don't think before I would have had them at the end, and I think I do now. And I think like I'm a little more. I'm worried, man. Like you put Sam Darnold and like in a good environment with somebody like Kevin O'Connell, he can win 14 games. That's pretty amazing. But like, what if you put him in an environment with like a guy who's I
Well,
don't
like his
know,
whole his
just
whole
doing
entire
things that doesn't sound like it's
well, the
very.
rest of his career, right? Like he the
Well,
only
yeah,
year
it
that
could
he's
be.
produced was in the year he was with
It could
the
be. I
Cardinals.
mean, maybe, you don't know if or Connell's calling to his strengths was like what helped him, or if he helped him get over like his ghosts and his yips, except for the last two games. And there's that real fight and, second overall pick in him, and maybe he can be that, like he's got some weapons, Cup and
Yeah, we did
JSM.
forget to mention Cup last week when we were talking about JSM and who else did
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
target throw to targets to. I think Cup is just a baller. Like
He
he
is,
had a
yeah.
down year last year. I don't think he's washed, but I don't necessarily think he's MVP Cup either. So I just don't see it with them. I think it's just gonna be a wash year for them. But I will say that I think between them and the Cardinals, it's really about staying healthy and probably even throw the
Yeah.
49ers in there. It's like if they have a couple of key injuries, it could go south, like especially at the quarterback position for all three of those teams. I mean,
I,
that's kind
I,
of true
I
with any
think
any team, but
I think the
I feel like
Cardinals did a lot of good things. I think Gannon finally started to get players in free agency that he really wants. Like guys, I think they were piecing a lot of stuff together. I think their defense is going to be good. Like, well, I think most people think their defense is going to be apex trash, and I don't think it will be. I think it'll be pretty good. And so I like them. Like they're sneaky. They're like I would kind of take their over in their win total, Like I like where they are. I like that Marvin Harrison is gonna be better. And I like that Trey McBride somehow didn't catch a touchdown with 100 and some catches. There's just like
yeah.
a lot of interesting stuff when you look at that team and you're like, man. I mean, Walter Nolan that they got. I mean, I think he was like the third overall recruit 2023. Like, I mean,
They
he's a
they seem to
brick
always
shit
play
house,
really.
man.
They always seem to play really hard last year too. Like there's a couple games that
Yeah,
got away from them,
I
but they
think like
always seem to be like super competitive. And I think that starts with James Conner. Like he's just such a
yeah.
fucking dog.
Well, I think they'll live and die less by Kyler, which was kind of the case on offense before, and I think they're going to be better on defense, which will allow them to control scrimmage and do more. That'll help Kyler. Like he's
Well,
got
he
to
says
go.
he's going to run more too, and like I think if
Yeah.
he's running loose like Wile E. Coyote, like he's pretty tough to keep in the pocket, and I mean he's a good quarterback if he's healthy and
Hey
committed.
man,
Like
I've said like I thought if you wanted to really find value, you should dive into that Arizona defense. Like you don't know what's going to hit. It's not obvious yet. We got training camp coming around the corner. It's probably going to become a little more obvious, but I just think there's a value there, and like they're. I think Gannon's finally building what he wants. Because he's got that old school Zimmer style 4-3, rush for the passer, but with a lot of like we'll see. We'll see. It
I'm
worked.
just
It
sorry.
worked in
I'm gonna go
Philly.
back
It
on.
worked in
I'm gonna
Philly.
go back on record and say that I just don't get the Brock Purdy love. Like I'm an Iowa guy. Like I don't mind the kid. I just don't think he's. I don't think he's special in any regards, and I think that's going to show this year. Like he got not a huge contract. I mean a big contract, but like
Yeah.
not top dollar contract. It kind of started to show towards the end of the season last year, like without some key weapons, like they don't have Ayuk, they don't have Debo this year. He relied on
And
Kittle a
Jennings wants a
lot.
trade right now
Jennings wants to
too.
trade because he's only
Like
making
that's
$7.5 million a year. It's like, it's just what else do they have? Like I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're gonna have to prove it to me this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got
I,
11 wins. I just don't. I would bet the under on their 10 and a
I
half win.
agree. I'm on the under with them. I'm on the over with Arizona, and so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Arizona finishes ahead San Francisco for that 2 spot, and I'm right with you with the Rams. I think the Rams at 1 and you talk about Stafford, but like that defense just continues and continues and continues to do crazy impressive things. They lost, I don't know, Rezaboom and Hoet. Like they lost a couple guys, but they drafted some good guys again. They brought in Puna Ford, who I didn't get
Well,
in
they
the
still have Jared
auction.
Verse, who's worth a third round draft pick in BC. So I mean, like that's
Jared Verse is worth two firsts,
oh man. All right.
period. But
Without further, go
hold
ahead.
on, hold on though. I could be wrong because we can, when we get to the auction, we'll talk about DN prices, and I guess they're the new DTs, like they're worthless now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Um, just to point out one more thing, Dobbins' contract is actually up to 5.25 million. It's only 2.7 guaranteed, but
Yeah. Sorry, I was going on base guaranteed contracts. Those are incentives, so I wasn't going across
yeah,
from the seven bonuses. I wasn't trying to say that meant less, but what I was looking at was there is 100% nothing else out like after that.
yeah. I mean, they can let him
Like
go after this year, and it doesn't
I,
cost them anything.
my shares of Jaleel McLaughlin got a little nervous when I saw he's 1 year, 1 million. Now that being said, if they cut him, there's a lot of teams that would take that guy. You know what I mean? Like there's a
Oh,
lot of
he's
guys with a like the if the Vikings were like, hey, Tyson Chandler, we're gonna take Jaleel McLaughlin instead, I'd be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Or even
hey,
the even the Bears. The Bears as
that
your third? Oof.
that 1.1 million dollars is good monies if you're Jack Gibbons.
Yeah,
You
well.
know, you just got
Oof.
$200 in the auction.
We'll get to
All right.
Jack Gibbons.
Okay.
Spoiler
Little
alert.
little teaser there. Um, all right. So one thing that has come up a few times in just some of the chats that I've been having with some of the rookie owners is the reason behind having a super pot and reserving funds to make the pot larger in every, what is it, 3 or 4 years now? I can't remember. Is it three or four? It's every 4 years, right? It was always four. I don't
It
know if they
was
made that
four. They
rule.
might have reduced it to three.
Regardless,
Should know
it's
this.
just yeah, I don't care because I don't play for the super pot. That's kind of my point. Like I obviously, if I have a competitive team, I'm going to push my chips in a little bit stronger, knowing that my pot's going to double in the super pot year, which doesn't make sense if it's 4 years, so it's whatever. Um, it's a bigger pot, right? Like
Yep.
it's my understanding, and but I haven't been in this league. This is my fifth year now. Two championships in those 5 years. Just saying. Um,
And our listeners are
yeah,
ecstatic every
well
time you
aware. They're
mention that
well
as
aware of
well.
that back to back. Um, but my understanding was it's not really necessarily like an incentive to win more money in those years. It's more of a commitment for owners when they join. They understand that a portion of their fees are going to go towards that pot, and hopefully that entices them to stay through a full cycle, because we have had issues with, and these issues are not just because of any one reason. Therefore, people come into a league and they realize this league's not for them because it's super competitive and intense, and it's a lot more challenging, and they don't find that they're going to have success. There's been people that have not liked other owners. There's been people that have not liked the rules or the way they administer. There's been a various amount of reasons why people come in and join. There's been people that have, caused fights in chat and like just can't control themselves. Like, I mean, and that's new owners doing it with, not ever having a long history of it. So, um, we have had turnover issues for a variety of different reasons. So my understanding was that was implemented to kind of protect that a little bit, because you don't want someone coming into the league for 1 year, selling all their draft picks in year two, even though they have to pay for that, completely screwing a team up and then dumping it and making it, almost impossible to find a new owner for that team. So, what are your thoughts on it? Can you provide any more clarity into why that was set up originally, or what your thoughts are in general?
Yeah, for sure. So the bigger the league, the harder it is to retain owners. I think if this was a 32 team non-contract league and just like a regular dynasty league, like I don't think it could function. Like you need the expiration of deals and like, the cap type of thing to make it. I mean, I'm sure people are in 32 team leagues that don't work that way, but you'll have like real forever dominance. And when you have forever dominance at the top, you lose owners pretty quick. Like they're just going to feel like they can never get to a rebuild or to where they want to be. So there's a few things. Like a super pod gives you like a realistic goal and chance to try and chase like, I don't know, a super chip and like extra money, and maybe you try and build for that year. Some people will do that as a strategy. Some people will play every year like it's their last. I probably do that too much. But in the end, it's built for longevity of players. And in the 16 team leagues under these same types of rule sets that were in contract leagues, that's almost enough to be able to mitigate people from leaving on a high clip or having a difficulty of getting people to return, right? Because also if you're like, hey, if you're going to come and join this league in a super pot year, you're free rolling 2 years of somebody else paying for you. So every new person in the league this year is free rolling their previous owner. It's great. Congratulations. Whether or not you can compete in the year is a different story. Strategies on this, like some owners will go so hard to try and win super pot for the motivation of the extra money, and they build rosters according. Some will contrarian to it, so they'll use the advantage of people who are trying to win bigger money to, like, I don't know, get better structure going long term.
Like to spend
And I've
money
seen
on
that work. I've seen that work really well. I think probably Mando did that in a super pod, if I'm not mistaken, and like cleaned house.
So theoretically, you're saying someone that knows that they don't have a winning team this year could have spent $275 or $300 on Mike Evans in the auction, and then traded that asset to a contender in a super pot year, knowing that he's going to spend more to get a key player in his championship run towards the end of the season, perhaps after injuries, after someone goes on IR, blah, 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 in order to gain valuable assets moving forward. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I think you should save the berating and talking down
I'm just
the people in the auction for when we get to that segment.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't
But
know. It seems like
in theory, if you know you're not competing, and like people don't know if they're competing or not, man, especially if you're new in this league.
I think that's what's hard.
Everything feels like nobody's roster looks good, dude. Like it's just like, hey, man, I got a couple studs, and I like this guy, and I like that guy, and then all of a sudden, 6 injuries later. You're taking zeros
my
at
point
3
being,
positions.
though, Ben,
so like you don't know.
My point being is you kind of hit a key point there. Yes, people will spend more in a super pot year to try to win the super pot because it is a bigger pot, but it is more of a longevity issue than trying to entice people to win that year and then be out, right? Like
I haven't seen anything in BC to prove to me there are people playing for Superpod and people not playing for Superpod. There's no evidence to me based off of the entire auction of what I've watched. Like
right.
I don't, because again, like we'll save this for the auction topic, but like a lot of the reasons that you bid very big on players is so you get them cheap the following year.
Right. Yeah.
if,
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
franchise tag. So going super expensive for a guy in a super pot year, in theory, if he was expensive, the guys you're talking about, we'll talk about later. They didn't get expensive. It's egregious. We'll get there. But in general, like if you're like, okay, well, do I want to spend this much more money at this position, and then for an anticipation, like when I spent 420 for Travis Kelsey, and I was like, cool, I'll franchise tag him on his second year. I'll be in super pot and I'll be happy. I don't know if I'm happy, but I have him at a pretty decent price in a super pot year. Okay, so like,
Yeah.
that's preparation for super pot. I think happens like much more on the spending aspect of it, and then like I think people are doing that a little less. I guess like I don't know.
Let me ask you another question. And when we have Dan on, he can kind of maybe add some color to that question too. And we hope to have Dan on. I'm throwing it out here live again just to say, Dan, we want you to be our first guest, and Ben and I would both enjoy talking to you and just
Dan's
shoot the
coming on.
shit.
I think he
Yeah.
already said he would.
No, he said he would. We just have to schedule it.
Yeah.
And I think we just wanted to get through the auction, and we'll start moving forward to kind of looking at divisions and more BC content and individual teams and some of that stuff. But when did we make the shift to being doing an ROD? Like, because when I joined, there was 3 new owners that year. It was a random draw of who got to pick whichever franchise at the same time. I don't even remember an ROD until two years ago. So when did that change come about, and like why hasn't it always been done that way? And then secondly, why isn't it that we just fill the league and then all new owners go into an ROD and that's how they rebuild their team? What are your opinions on that, as opposed to people being able to spend more money for a team that's probably better up front and get first access to it, and then giving the last few owners kind of the leftovers of the teams that have been abandoned in a shitty situation?
Well, I can say it in one word or one name if you'd like.
Sure.
Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Players like Wayne, who would have these wild strategies and leave a roster completely barren, was putting us in a situation where nobody would take the team. So if you never fill the league because no one will take the team, I was like, oh, he has 0 picks. He has 0 contracts that I want. And like all through the years, it's like, how do you get people to pick up these teams? This is a really hard league to fill.
I mean, I guess that's my point. Like, the only 2 teams that I can remember that have been left in good situation are Moose's team and Roman's team.
Yeah.
So, like,
well,
usually
that's not true. Georgia's team was pretty good. Cincinnati team was pretty good. They got kicked out.
Yeah,
You're talking about people who quit.
You're absolutely right. They weren't playoff teams, but they were solid teams, solid structure, solid.
I think
bones.
Georgia took like 9 players in last year's draft at linebacker.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's say 70% of the teams that are open are struggling. So why not just throw everybody into an ROD and fill the league with all the available orphans, promote it like that, saying, hey, you're not going to come in at a disadvantage over any other team in the league. These, that's one of the other questions that's come up, and was kind of when people found out about that after the fact, that people had priority access to other teams and that they had to go through the ROD. I don't think they were very happy about it. And I don't know if that's something that's promoted or if it's talked about in the process, but to me, it's almost overcomplicating. If you have 5 orphan teams, they almost should be balanced out through the ROD, giving the new owners kind of a fair shot instead of a random draw, which doesn't make any sense, right? Like, I mean, I inherited the worst team in that year. It's without question. Why, like that, like, to me, it makes way more sense just to say, here's the pool of players that are going to be available. They're on these 5 teams. If you sign up, you'll have as good a shot to rebuild as any other new owner in the league. I don't understand why we're doing it in a way that doesn't favor kind of consistency for all the new owners as opposed to giving some an
Because
advantage
it's
over the
like
other.
there's options because the teams are always different. And
Okay.
like to your point, you want to say, okay, let's just do an ROD. All right, tell
So
fucking
when does the ROD
tell
come
the
into
commission
play?
put
When
it,
it's
tell the
so when is
it's new. Tell the
this was the
commission put
first
it
year?
up. I don't remember there ever being an ROD before. I could be
I don't
wrong.
either. Yeah, and I don't either.
I believe we've done all these types of strategies and add-ons to fill the league in these types of
No, yeah, and
situations.
I'm not
So
questioning that.
we're talking
I'm
about
theoretically.
first it was amnesties. Option you can amnesty 3 contracts. Man, imagine like you used to have to come into these leagues and just take the team as is. You didn't
Yeah,
get amnesties. I think you got amnesties when you came
I
in.
got amnesties. I had
Yeah.
three amnesties.
I think that might have been the first year we had amnesties. So when you say like, why is it like this? Like because one year we added amnesties. The next year we added the option to do something like with a team like Wayne's and say, I don't want any of this.
Right.
Drop it
Yeah.
all. Right?
I just wonder if it makes more sense to
And
develop
then,
consistency
well,
at some point.
okay, to your point, now we have the ROD and we've seen it function. And there's a few things that it does that are good and bad. Okay. What's good about the ROD is you give a new owner a clean slate and the ability to pick their own team. I believe that's probably more enticing as a whole to owners to have consistency that everyone's just going to get an equal shot. So a team like Romans that got picked off that had all the best assets would have been much juicier if it was in the ROD. So I agree with that to a sense that like if we want some consistency, that can be a good way to do it. But
It also
here's
puts a ton of cap into the auction, which is almost impossible
well,
to
that's the
in your
next
first
point.
year understand.
That's the
Yeah.
next point I was going to get to. By doing the ROD, there are man, I'll go back and look, but there's at least 50 players, maybe more. I don't want to go as far as 100, but there's 50 players who were not taken with contracts who should have been taken. So, for example, like a linebacker who they're like, that guy's a backup and he's $6. I don't want him. And then you're like, oh, that backup linebacker is $65 in this auction.
Right.
Probably should have kept him. You have no way of knowing that if your first experience is an ROD.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
we
the
can argue
auction.
any which
Yeah.
way we want, but I will tell you from my experience, what we gave is gave a lot of cap to people who didn't understand how the
Yeah.
auction was going to function, and very few people did. I wonder if we go to everyone who was on the ROD and we ask them, did the auction go exactly how you wanted, and are you happy with the results? They would probably say, that was crazy. That was a lot of fun. I made a lot of mistakes.
I still say
Next
it's crazy,
time,
and I'm in year 5 of it. I mean, it's not.
I know, but you're right. And this year was different, so it's always crazy. Every year's different.
I would be more in favor of an ROD probably if outside of the first round, every new owner got a pick at the end, an extra pick at the end of that round.
I don't know about
Because
that. I don't like
no,
that. If you do the ROD and you can just wipe all contracts that are like gray area and get your players, it's like just because some people made mistakes and left players they should have had doesn't mean that.
yeah, but like 233, 333, 433, 533, like I don't
Dude,
think
I
that
am
those
not.
are
I am not on that.
no.
Leave the
I'm just trying
draft.
to-
It's 32 picks, bro.
Yeah,
Leave that shit
yeah,
alone. The
yeah.
ROD, in my opinion, gives new owners a apex massive advantage over everyone who is middle of the pack,
Okay.
unless they screw it up.
So what I will say
If you would have
is,
gave me, if you would have put me in that ROD, understanding how I understand the league, understanding how the
Right.
auction was going to work. You gave me. What do you think I would have done with $1,000, Corey?
Um, you would have gotten a lot of cheap contracts, and then you would have gone on in
And
all in
that's
on a
not
couple
to.
of
I'm
really
not
big
trying to
studs.
talk down and belittle anyone because these experiences are crazy. You don't know what to expect. It almost happens too fast, and then it happens too slow, and then it's like it's crazy. But uh, but I do believe the ROD is like the answer to give the absolute best chance,
Okay, so then that kind of
unless you take over a dominant winning
then
franchise.
it has to be either ROD for everybody or no ROD, and you know it's a random draw or what. I mean, like it can't be someone gets to get first pick of a team because they know somebody and blah blah blah. They're invited in the league. Three weeks after the season closes, like it should just be okay. You're on the list. Your money's in. You have access to one of these teams. We don't know what it is yet. You're going to go through a ROD, and it's a fair game on all the players that are in the pool. That's my opinion. I just don't see
I
how.
agree that if there's an ROD, everyone should do it. If we
I
continue with the ROD, it should just be like all the players go into the pool, and that's the way it should be. And we can vote on that. Like
Yeah, I think it's good.
these
It's
are
been
for
good to
orphan
try it
owners
out.
that don't exist yet. And I think seeing to your point now, granted, um, like the safer move when you have a good team is to amnesty three bad contracts and just keep a nice team. But if it's going to
Yeah, but
just
it's
be, but if you're going to try and level the playing field and just get it full and get everyone like looking at a player pool that's available, right? Like then I think I am in favor of seeing if the league will either only ROD or eliminate the ROD and go back to just amnesty or get rid of everybody. But I
yeah.
think having all three options is a little convoluted, and when they're like when you have somebody dropping all their players, and then you have somebody dropping three players in an amnesty, and then you have like three guys who are like fighting for what's on their roster. I agree. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's something to talk to Dan about. And again, this is in no way a criticism of Dan. This has all been talked about, and we all have had input on it. I just couldn't remember exactly. I saw the ROD. I didn't even know what was going on.
All
And like,
intentions of this league are just to make sure we fill it.
yeah, the
It's a
filling it
hard
is
league to fill.
difficult, but I think that's going to be much. I don't think we'll have the same turnover that we have. Again, going back to where we are at as a culture and a community, I just think we're in a much better space right now. And like there's
Yeah.
such a positive vibe going through this, and all the new owners seem to be extremely engaged and enjoying their experience outside of kind of maybe some onboarding issues and things of that nature. But like at the end of the day, like they're all interacting, they're all having a good time. Like you're still not going to stop people that have lost for 6 seasons in a row and just can't get it together and leave. But like I don't think there's going to be as
Or one
much
and
turnover
dones. A lot of
or one
people
and
do this
done's.
league, and
You know,
it's
it's
just
just
like
not for
too
me.
much for them. And then,
But
like
but then again,
again,
that's
people
why we
get
have the
kicked
super
out.
pot, and we have the super pot for that reason. I'll be very surprised if anybody gets kicked out of the league this year. Let's put it that way.
So far,
Yeah. All right. Well, those are a couple good talking points to kind of have a follow up conversation with Dan. If you have any more questions about why things are done the way they are, feel free to shoot Ben or I a message. You'll notice that I didn't call out any specific owners. I'm just talking in general about some of the messages I've received and some of the questions I have, which, quite honestly, I don't have all the answers for. Because, as you can tell, I don't really know a ton about any of the rules or the history of this league, and I'm just a very
and this
lucky
league is
two
so
time champion.
crazy. Like, yes, I've tried to make certain things up as we go. They get voted on, and a majority votes and says, "Yeah, that seems right," and then it happens, and we go, "Ooh,"
Oh,
you
that's
know.
a really good point too. Kind of back to one of my original points. Everybody has a voice in this league. Like it can't be relied upon for the same 6 or 7 people to be making a decision. Like it's obvious that some of the new owners are very experienced and have a lot of depth in kind of serious competitive leagues. Like your opinions do matter. So vocalize them, ask questions. Like we want is to make this the best league out there for everybody that's involved. So, and I think
And it's
we're off
okay
to a
to
good
like
start.
not like when a ruling goes one way, you know?
Yeah,
If a
it's hard
voting
to.
and somebody agrees that, and you got to move on. I
It's really
have
hard
I
to
have a
please
list of
everybody.
I have a list of 15 players I wish were in the system that I don't get to add because of a new rule. But that's just because I'm psycho. Luckily, I don't have that many roster spots this year in taxi squads. If I had a full taxi squad to fill this year, I'd probably be seeing therapists right now, just like trying to
Yeah.
work out like all these guys that I know are going to be on NFL teams that aren't in the system that I'm not allowed to have.
Well, you are the depth of your knowledge is proven by the analytics of Mr.
But it's like the rule's fair. Like the time it takes Dan to do it, it's all manual work. It's fair. It's a fair ruling. I did vote
Yeah,
against
but
it
if they're
though
not in the
because
system
I had to
now,
vote. I had to vote. I had to vote with my preference in my heart. So I'm sorry, Dan. I do appreciate the work, but I knew it wasn't gonna. I knew everyone was gonna see that
but I
adding
don't see
players
there's
wasn't
anything wrong
beneficial.
with having the first blind bid waiver a week after the auction, like, and you sending an XXX and these players, and then putting a message board topic on it and saying these are the guys I want. Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but you still have to add players to the system. You still have to submit them. You still have to monitor them when they get added. And then somebody fucking comes in and adds them on free agency, and like they bid like
Yeah.
$18, and you're like, wait, that guy's on my taxi squad. It's a nightmare, dude. It's legit. Like Dan's not wrong, and Mando's not wrong, and they're not wrong. But from a guy who got
Well, one of the
a
smart
look in
guys in this league should
Foyesade
be able
as
to
an
run a
ad
program.
player, you know, Beanie Bishop is an ad player. Like I have players currently on my roster I added. So like I
Mm.
to say that it never happens, fine. It's just like a small advantage that I used to take that I can't take anymore, and I think it's a fine trade off.
Yeah.
That's why I traded and got
Well, if there's
25
ever
six
anybody
round
with an
picks.
if there's anybody with an asterisk in the system from this point forward, I'm definitely bidding at least $5 on them, Ben. So good luck with that. All right, we're gonna move on to actual auction results. Ben and I have separated this as kind of always we do into offense and defense. Ben's gonna talk about the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to speak about the offensive results. So, Ben, without further ado, let's hear your opening statements on
You
this.
always want to
This
put the
great league.
defense first. That's okay. I put
What
defense
wins
first.
championships?
So I don't know that in this league, I don't know what that's like. You can tell the audience again like what it feels like to win 2 times with no injuries and white hot luck. But we digress.
Yeah.
So I think there's. Let's just go real quick into general strategy of auctions of expectation we've seen in the past before we get into like analyzing these things. I think you and I always know when you have cap and you want guys, you have to bid what you think is too much early because
Mm-hmm.
later it's actually not going to be too much. You have to go very
Right.
hard for players
Hard and
early.
fast early. Yeah.
Very early because the thing is you have a few advantages early. A lot of players are going to be gun shy with their cap because they want to feel it out. So you got 12 hours to make the most of it, 12 to 16 before people, let's say even 24 hours in the first day cycle. So like and then you have people who log on late, some people forget, some people are busy. Later in the cycle, people get used to being like, I can get on 3 times a day to make sure I'm not missing a screamer. And there was no auction that proved that early deals were everything more than this one, I don't think. And that period lasted longer than it normally does. For me, it always usually, like, I feel like it's the first 8 hours because as soon as players get one at a certain price, then people start fighting for the next tier, and the next tier never gets cheaper. It always gets more expensive, right? And so the one where that wasn't totally the case, but I think the result was still very good is like Vito went in hard at the top linebackers that were available. There wasn't a lot, right? Like it's not like the linebacking array of options was super juicy. It's like Levante David's the nuts, and that's all you need to know. Like everyone else has been retained. But you and I said, minimum 150 for him and Demario Davis. Those were the guys we pointed out. I think we probably forgot about Landon Roberts, who's probably going to be a 3-down guy. I personally didn't think he would go as high as he did. But Vito went and got 3 linebackers. He got Levante David for $212, Landon Roberts for $200, and then Troy Reader for 108. And my initial reaction was like, wow, that feels like he didn't get a deal.
I don't think they're deals.
Well, in respect to like other linebackers historically, they're definitely not deals. To the franchise tag, they're not deals. To like where you see the price tag on rosters of all the good, they're not deals. But like based off the scarcity, it wasn't bad. But you're like, okay, well, he clearly wanted to put $500 on the line or more. He probably had 6 on the line.
Well, he won Levante David without ever anybody overpassing him. I know that for a fact. I think he did the same thing with Roberts. I don't
all
think
3 of them.
Yeah.
He came out the gate with all 3 of those.
They might not be deals as far as production and talent level, but he got arguably 3 of the best 5 linebackers in the class, and it's a hell of a deal compared to Jack Gibbons for $197.
Well, we'll get there, right? Because like what immediately followed was Demario Davis for 132 and Alex Anzalone for 132 as well. And I'm like, man, Vito got hosed. Like those 2 deals for middle linebackers. Now, hey man, they're old. They could, I talked about before Demario Davis could lose his job if they're rebuilding, and Alex Anzalone has Jack Gibbons probably taken the 1 role, but they always have 2 guys. Like I think they're still both 3-down thumpers for at least 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, but they're 1-year contracts. That's the other thing. They're not signing.
Yeah, but you're also not trying to franchise. Like Levante David isn't 212 to get franchised. Landon Roberts isn't 200 to get franchised.
I know. I know.
These aren't young pups that you're like, ooh, let me get them. So
you have cash to spend for positions of need, and if you want to compete, you have to score points at those positions. So you spend money to get the best business.
I would be blown away if anyone uses their franchise tag next year on a linebacker from this auction. Blown away.
Yeah, I mean, who would it be?
I will go down the list, but I don't think anyone. It would have to be like. There would have to be something very weird with Troy Anderson's
Well, it certainly won't be a guy that's
situation.
getting a discount price, right? So someone could underperform like Troy Reader or something and be like, okay, well, I don't even know how old he is, but
Troy Reader's 108, but he's also like
he's
I don't
30
know.
years
He doesn't
old.
have a lot. He doesn't have a lot of competition. Like Troy Reader, I had last year for $40.
Maybe Isaiah McDuffie. He's 25 years old. Like that seems like a person that if he has an outstanding year.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, maybe I
106.
can get Isaiah McDuffie for $80, and I might go there. Yeah, it's just fucking whatever. But Isaiah McDuffie, think about Isaiah McDuffie. Just because a guy's in his last year, if he's 25, it's all about his next contract.
Yeah.
If he stays, he's going to be a starter. If it's not, somebody's paying him. So, like, if you're in the last year of a contract and you're 33, okay. But if you're like 25, you're going to get a job.
So we started off by talking about general strategy. So just, we've already covered, you got to get in fast, you got to get in early, and you got to spend probably 20% more than what your head thinks that you should to get studs.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do that, you set kind of the market price for what that position's going to cost, right? Because there's not that many studs in this. And then what happens is, oh shit, I still need a linebacker. I was timid because I had all these other options that I wanted to fill, but now I got to overpay for a third string linebacker that's going to have maybe a fifth of the production, and I'm probably getting am at two-thirds of the cost or a half of the cost anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to get in early because, as I'll show on the offensive side, there ain't a ton of production, and you're not building your roster off of fucking, a bunch of studs in the auction. If you have money to spend, it's just asinine to me, especially if you're not a competing team, why you wouldn't go after studs that are tradable assets.
Yeah, and like I think the other question, which always happens in options, and like you see this, you see some people take advantage of it in some spots. I'm sure we'll see a little more on offense, but on defense also is like, can you squeeze in early a second tier guy or a backup that will end up being cheaper than later? And so it's like, Deion Jones goes for $22. And I'm like, God, that's gross. Like, Deion Jones, like, has he had a fantasy point in 2 years? He's a backup, one of two backups to the middle linebacking position with one of them in the air. Like, I mean, he's going to be on the team. And, like, you'll see later, like, $22, not too bad, like a veteran, a name.
Is it fair to say you either get in early and get kind of studs that have proven production, even if they're older, starting roles, and then stay away from the middle of the road kind of prove it players at two-thirds or half the cost, and then go after guys that are third-year rookies that are maybe third on the depth chart and were four-star talents but just haven't found the right spot yet, or even 25, 26-year-olds and buy cheap on those guys?
So it's a hard question to answer because like every year's kind of been different. And like specifically I would say to like yes, like early because it's going to be harder later, but what seemed to happen was later the best players at other positions that weren't being bid on started to get more expensive, and then the average starters started getting really expensive too in positions I never remember being that expensive. And even and in linebacker is always the focal one because it's the most shortage of anything on defense, right? Like it's just you need to start too many of them. You need to find too many of them. So everyone's always panicking, like KJ Britt went for $84. And it's like, okay, he's like fighting for the linebacker 2. Could be linebacker 3. Right? It's like, I was like, man, that feels fair but high. Like I don't know how it feels. I just don't know. I don't know how I feel about it at the time.
Well, I guess, and I want you to go through position, but I want to finish up the strategy points first. So maybe there's just a couple more bullet points on strategy alone, right? Like, what? One thought that came to my mind is I heard people, well, yeah, you can just check in every 12 hours and you can get your bid in. You don't have to spend all day doing it. I think that's grossly underestimating how much people that are active drive the cost in the auction. How many bids with only $100 and $120 did I make on marginal players just to push prices up, knowing that if I got stuck with them, I'm okay with it, but they're going too cheap too early, and I want money moving fast, especially early. I want money moving around
vets
fast.
Didn't have money. The vets didn't have money.
But you don't have to have a ton of money to do it. You have to be active, and you have to you got to push it forward because after years of experience that those prices are never going to stand. So you have to drive costs up early to get the money out of the pool as quickly as possible if you are ever going to find any bargains.
It still didn't really happen that way. Like even if there was us trying
this year,
it didn't. It did less this year, in my opinion.
I underestimated the amount of money that was in with new owners, how little they were going to actually spend at the top, and how much money the ROD and having a lot of capital left impacted this draft. And to my surprise, it kind of spread it out over a bunch of players as opposed to being pretty top heavy, if that makes any sense. Like because
I think the 4 or 5 players that had the majority of the cap, like a dominant proportion of the cap, waited too long. All of them.
I agree.
And what happened is, like, here's a great example. And this is like getting in your territory. But like Hard Knocks, for example, had $240 of cap. He won one player with $200. We'll talk about him later. But like that type of player should never be privy to that type of winning asset.
Yeah.
Right?
You almost
like
drive them up to 214 immediately.
It's the obligation of the big cap holders to bully the shit out of people with less cap like us, right? Like
100%.
And we didn't really tell them they had to do that. By the time the auction started, I felt weird if I did. There was a little interaction where it was like, it was being mentioned after some players won some players. But to your point,
I think some of the new owners that may or may not be competitive this year, I think they wanted to fill out a team as best as they could that was a complete team. And I think that strategy is wrong. Well, it could be, right? Like, but I think you almost have to make a decision. And this is a mistake I made in my first year. I was like, well, I want to try to win, like, at least just see where I'm at. And I probably set myself back that first year by thinking that I even had a chance. I mean, I had the worst team in the fucking, orphan. And it's just like, I had no chance. I think I won 2 games. It's like, okay, so I didn't collect assets that I could sell off. I tried to fill a team, and I think they went into it with the plan of trying to get depth or fill all the roster spots instead of, hey, I need to get assets right now that I can trade for better assets that'll help me build quicker over the long term. And I just don't think they did a very good job of doing that, if I'm being frank.
So I think, okay, so I'm going to go back to the strategy. Early in the phase, if you wanted the best, you had to pay to get it. Couple slipped through, right? After Vito went hard and everyone's like, I don't know. Like, there were some deals. And then there's mid-range, and mid-range was like, doesn't feel like they're deals because they're like fringe third linebackers going for $80 range, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, after, let's see, Segundo Olubi, he was probably the third linebacker. So, like, after him going for 80, then it goes... like a linebacker doesn't get one for like almost a day, right? Eric Wilson goes for $52. He's the first backup. I was trying to get him. Looking back, pretty cheap for the next guy in line in a weird way, right? And then you get the McDuffie for 106. Oof, okay. This is getting juicy. Like, it's still good because he's young and whatever, right? Now you have Eric Kendricks goes for 74. He's not on a team, but we've historically seen people take those types of swings. Jack Gibbons goes for $197. And this was when you saw like the big owners of the cap competing for what was left at a position of need. And it was just like, yikes. Jack Gibbons was a huge, like, a guy I thought I could sneak under the radar because he's getting paid $1.1 million in 1 year's salary going to play for his old coach after a down year. And I'm like, maybe I can get him for $60. And he goes for $200. Wow. Didn't see that coming.
I had him on my team. I think I picked him up in the auction my third year, and I forgot to extend him. I was 2 days late, and I screwed up. Like, that was the year he hit.
Yeah.
I think I had him for like $8 or something like that. And it's just like, and I'm not picking on baby Jesus. I don't want to take the Lord's name in vain. I just don't understand.
Takes two to tango.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
it's not one. It's two people got him to 197.
But
Okay, two
like
people.
we've talked about this, the contract says a lot. It's a 1 year, $1.1 million contract.
Like Christian
Like,
Razorboom for Carolina, who went from 188, which was crazy too, because he could be a 60% linebacker. He could win the job. They got a they got guys there, but like let's say he is a starter, right? Like at least he's was given some money.
yeah, I just don't understand that. Again, not to compare it to Mike Evans, but how can you pay that like I don't know if it was early. I mean, it says when did it close? Last bid made July 13th at 11:30, and Evans was July 12th at 12:38. So almost a full day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there
yeah,
there
yeah.
there's the point. Like so now you're spending 200 on Jack Gibbons when you could have had Mike Evans for
But
215.
I think this point goes further in the next position that was like the next valuable, which was safety.
Yeah,
And so
crazy
we
safety
go
cost.
right, yeah, so we go right into safeties and let's go early, right? Who tried to get a safety early? And it's like uh Kevin Byard went for $98, which I was like, oof. I mean,
Well,
I like him.
Justin
Well,
Reed went for
hold
100.
on. I'm
Oh,
talking in
oh,
order. We're going in
okay.
order. That's the first one off the board. So it's like, I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
Jesus. And at the same time, Byron Murphy goes for $63. And I'm like, damn. I like me some Vikings, but $63 for Byron Murphy is aggro. Whatever. Maybe he's a top five cornerback by most rankings. So, like, all right, okay. Byard, 98. Okay, fine. And then it's like, that's when you start get the trickle down in that. There's some other offenses positions that got spiked, but like this is where the safety gets nuts, right? So then Jabril Peppers was 80. That's like not terrible. I don't love it, but it's probably to be expected. And then we get into the Justin Reed the Justin Reed contract, right? And it's like I've never seen a safety go for this much money in an auction.
I haven't
Like,
either.
like even Tyron Matthew, the Honey Badger in New Orleans for 101.
Well, the Seattle guy Adams, like at the
Some of
prime of
these
his
guys are
career.
like barely even drafted in the 16 team leagues, right? And it's like, holy hell. And then, here's another linebacker. Jordan Hicks is going for 150, like, all right. Oof. It's a lot of risk, but all right. But the safeties is where I just couldn't understand it. They got so expensive. $166 for Justin Reed. So there's Justin Reed playing for New Orleans, and there's a Honey Badger playing for New Orleans, and they went for a combined of
So
$267.
in order to make it's not a tradable contract in one on a 1 year
No,
deal, right?
it's kind of got to be a franchise tag, but even that franchise tag is probably going to be like $90 next year.
Okay, but then he's 28. I don't know how old of a 28-year-old
Well,
he is. So then you're
neither of those guys are even close to top 20 safeties or
so
10.
I'm
Maybe they're
just saying, I
20,
guess
but
my point being, okay, baby Jesus, probably a rebuilding team. I haven't looked, but I'm guessing. So why spend $166 on a safety that you can't trade off at that price to anybody this year to get any draft capital? You more than likely are not. You may franchise tag him, but it's an iffy franchise tag at whatever 85, $90 because it's just driven up the cost of the franchise tag, and he's older. So, and he's not a top 20 safety as you pointed out.
but I think
So
it's a
what is the
scarcity of anyone
what is
who's
the
a starter.
strategy though?
It's
But
scarcity of anyone who's a starter that's left.
but again, the point is like, what difference does it make? You don't want to score points as a rebuilding team, so who cares if you draft Justin Reed for 166 or fucking a third string person that you just throw in there to fill your lineup
If you
that might hit for $6?
if
I
you
just don't
put
get.
Corey, if you put $101 on Justin Reed, opening the auction, $101, Justin Reed. You have him 12 hours later.
For sure.
166 is the later cost.
I bet if you do it 85, 90.
I bet if you would put a 101, you would have got him for 80s to 90s. I do think that's that buyer going for 90, like if he would have gone later, he would have been $150. So somebody basically saved $50 on going hard early on.
Well, but like you said, someone else was pushing that price up at some point, so a couple people won them at $165. I mean, it's just again, I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I'm trying to understand it, and I could be completely proven wrong. I just don't understand.
The talent pool was so bad though this year.
But you said that it's bad every year, and you said that there's more people in the auction this year because of the ROD and freeing up more.
Yeah,
people.
but that's seen later. That's the backup guys. That's like the Jags that were, on a roster for $12 that got dropped, and now they went for 40 or 50.
Well, baby Jesus had a ton of cap, and he got over. I'm just looking at it, over 20 players. Okay, he spent $276 on Tyreek Hill, which we'll talk about later. Good job there, right? I think that's a pretty fair use of his money. Mm-hmm. I just think that $197 could have been spent not at safety. I mean, getting a Justice Hill for 171 or 188 or whatever he was. Boy, I would have much rather seen that money go there.
Yeah, I think on some of I'm not going to steal your thunder. We'll get to the offense, but I think outside of the top end of the wide receivers, offense felt like to go how it normally goes. I think defense was just weird and very crazy. Defensive tackles, we're going for really high amounts, and when people are like, "Man, $50 is a steal," I was like, "Jesus, all right, here we go."
Well, you used to be able to get starting tackles or defensive tackles for $5 in the auction, and that's why you just kind of ignored it. It's just I can pick up one on a waiver wire, and it ain't gonna cost me that much. And
there's a lot of players at the position. I got pissed off because you sniped me on a guy earlier, and I was just being annoyed, and I was dealing with a lot of shit just like you. I had kids and dogs screaming in my face, and I'm trying to get ready for this podcast, and then I saw you fucking snipe me, you jerk. But anyways, it was I got over it. There was
53 minutes left, and I got outbid on a guy that I wanted.
Ford.
And it's just
who was going for a lot of money for some reason. I mean, I like him too. Well, all it takes is one news blurb, and these prices just get crazy.
He was down to 3 hours when Bad Boys came in, and he was.
Weren't you going to get him for $6, and then now he's going for?
Well, I had 12 on him, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is going to be great. Maybe he's a dud, but to get him for $12, I was super excited. And then Bad Boys comes in with 2 or 3 hours left. I'm like, oh, there. So then I raised it back up, and I think it's on the third person now. So it's again, if I throw him out early, what does Jalen Ford go for? That's the other thing is if you try to throw out sneaker picks early, and if you're a vet or not a vet, you're probably not going to get them cheap because people are nope, not going to. That's too cheap for Corey or too cheap for Ben or Mike or whoever. So you're kind of the patience is definitely a virtue in this. You don't have to nominate 3 people, and I can't do it. I'm just such an addict. I'm nope, got to get them out there. I want to, it's but then I try to throw some duds in there too, just to say okay, and blah blah blah, go get them.
I threw my 20th favorite player out, and every time I got bid up. So it's just whatever. It's I think even thinking about the guy you took, it's I went to my watch list. I'm oh, I still have 7 other D tackles that I okay, whatever. Now, I better win one before this comes out.
I don't think there's in theory. I don't think there's anything wrong with sniping.
No, there's not. Here's the thing:
when you get down to a minute or two,
when you're down to less roster spots, right? And so it's okay, I'm not bidding on 2 D tackles because it feels it's slowed down, and I'm this guy's average, I'm cool if he gets me 100 points, you know. Um, and then Packers has Kenny Clark for $4, and I'm like, I can't let him get Kenny Clark
Right.
for $4.
Why? What did Devontae Wyatt go for?
And then I was like, I've got to bid him up. I'm like, well, I don't want to get stuck with two DTs. And then also, like, if I bid him up, he's probably going to come for this other guy. It's just like, I'm just like,
Yeah,
gonna
it's
see if the
madness.
piece can run. You know, but a lot of times it's like you have Coyotes comes in at 6 p.m. every night and just fucking lights the board on fire. And
Yeah,
everyone's
with
like,
his
because he's got all the cap.
oh god, it's the
But
worst.
but but the point is, you know, like it's funny to watch crazy deals towards the end that you can't really like. I just didn't want to take the calculated risk to get in on too many D tackles. But I think like for how expensive D tackles went early and how expensive they continued to go for like, I don't know, okay guys, that'll get you like 120, 130. When 100 point, 110 point guy is around the corner going for $3, $2, $4 on the reg. And it was going for a while. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I'll get this guy. And then you bid him up on me. I'm like, God damn it. You know, it's just,
Well,
that's the,
yeah.
no. I'm just saying that's the way of the frustration of like your luck and ebbs and flows of like, did somebody get bid out and are you their next target? And it
Well, I
sucks
mean,
when that happens.
I'll admit, like I saw, about halfway through Jawan Bentley going for like $12 to pen. I'm like, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
No way. And then then he's gone, and then Ben's out or Penn's out, and it's like, okay, well, I'm kind of keeping a player away from a competitor for cheap. I don't mind if I get him for $15, but he's not going for 12. And so like then you're going to get outbid, but you've locked that cash up. So when you're running down in cash, you have to wait for it to clear. It's going to, and then that's when you go in, and I'm like, okay, there's five guys going. Do I want to make a decision in the next hour if that's the next guy I want to take my shot on? And it just so happened that one of those guys was your guy. So
Yeah.
I
Well, Jeff
apologize.
Okudah's another guy you got for $4 that I thought was nice because like whatever. I could nerd out on Viking shit all the time, but like if you're a bust with like crazy talent and pedigree and Brian Flores makes you a priority, like the flyer alone could be awesome, right?
It's
But
just
like
yeah, it was a flyer for cheap. Like the
I would
quarterback
have,
price was
I would
ridiculous.
have, I was going to try and make sure I got him and then Rogers on my roster, but I kind of like committed. There was like everything slowed down, and there was just better starter options, and like other guys were getting starters through for cheap. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get it. Nope, bid up. Let me try to get this guy. Nope, bid up. And then it's like, but I had a guy that I thought I was going to get with like an hour and a half left by the time you won Jeff Okuda. So I'm like, kudos to you. I probably
Yeah.
would have done the same to you on him
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, and there's
And
no
Packers, man.
hard feelings
I'm
to
not.
that.
I don't like Packers, but I know Kenny Clark for $4 is like a crime against humanity. Like, how did
Well,
this league
Devontae
look
Wyatt
like?
went for 50, so it's like, Jesus, look at the
Yeah.
difference in the.
And well, and
Jesus
like,
Christ.
okay, Kenny Clark kind of had a down year, but like, he's making 10 million for the next 2 years. Like, he's
Well,
there.
Grady Jarrett went for pretty cheap too. Like I thought.
Pretty
Let's so
cheap,
why don't
pretty cheap comparisons, right? Like, I agree. Like,
I,
and
I
again,
really
Grady Jarrett got a lot of money.
I really liked I liked Malik Harrison going in. And I thought I could get him for like $25, like you know, pipe
Yeah,
dream. I really liked Joey Bosa. My brother got him for $44, but it
$44,
was early.
man. After I
Yeah.
was like, we were kind of like, oh yeah, Joey Bosa name, and you were like, and I was like, name recognition, maybe we'll go cheap. Like $44 was cheap for Joey Bosa. I look at
I
that
think
like
so.
they signed him to so much money, they have to play him. He's got like
Yeah.
3 4 years on his deal. Like he's getting paid so much for 1 year, it's crazy. But you know, DN's like I didn't what DN what's let's see. The most expensive DN in this auction I think was $88. Am I wrong on that? I think it was not high. DNs were
Uh,
cheap, dude.
Bradley Chubb went for 96.
Okay. So Chubb went for
And oddly
96.
enough, that was the most money that West Cannon Coyotes spent on any player in the auction, and I think he had, if not one of the
He had
most
$1,300 to start.
right, which is
$1,350.
absolutely baffling to me.
Hey man,
Baffling.
but he would also kind of only come in once a night, you know.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, everybody
It's his
plays these
style.
leagues for different. I just don't understand. I mean, he still has $300 in cap left over too. So,
Yeah.
um, it's more of
Yeah,
a
Kyle Van Noy for 61, Leonard Floyd for 44. I mean, these are all like BJ Ojolari went for 60. That's aggressive.
so
But
why
like,
don't you why don't you give me three of your best picks or your best values and three of your worst, and then we'll move on to the offense. Unless you have some other stuff to talk about.
no, I think we went through it. Like cornerbacks were super nuts because they got really, like again, like everything because the money went so late. These positions that were historically super cheap, like just got expensive, and they didn't make any sense, you know. And then it's like, hey, you want a backup linebacker? You got $80. It's like Jesus, like okay, like I remember those days. There's been auctions where it's been slim pickings, but. So my favorite, like, probably is Demario Davis at 132. I have to put him there. I just like that guy's gonna perform
Yeah,
nonstop.
he's 47, but like until he's dead, he's gonna make tackles. You
Yeah.
know?
And then Joey Bosa's the best value at D end at 44. That's just wild. Like I really thought that was pretty impressive to get. But that's an early run, and it's like, you know, you and I were like, how is he that cheap? It's like, do you have DNs? Everyone has DNs. Everyone has some
Mm.
DNs that they like. There's so many DNs, but still, like Bosa's upside is like I don't know, 182. You know, if he has a good year, he's been hurt a lot, but $44. That's a great gamble. You know. And
Yeah.
again, like I couldn't pay that. I have three DNs I'm very happy with limited capital. So like the people who would probably want to put that up just couldn't do it, right?
I
And
like
then
I like McDuffie at 106. The-
McDuffie at 106 is good in comparison to all of them as far as but like you know he might not get a ton of run, but I think that next contract can be good. But again, it's like a gamble, you know, like who knows? Like you don't know what these guys like and don't like. You know, I thought EJ Speed was going to get $100 million in his next contract. He got 1 year of fucking $4 million or something. You know.
I like Nawasu from Vito at $45
Yeah,
at DN.
yeah, it's pretty good. For how expensive the D tackles were going, I thought Jonathan Allen for 26 was something I wish I could have got, but I didn't. I don't think that's going to be in my top three though. Where is the absolute steal I saw that I wanted to
I
fucking...
like Justin Simmons at safety for $27. I mean, he's a free agent, but he's probably the top free agent safety out there
I
right
think the
now.
free agent stuff always looks expensive until they get a job, but like it sucks when they don't.
Yeah.
We'll say that. Yeah, I think early a lot of the backups were getting super cheap, like the secondary backups. Like if you were fourth in line, people were getting those for $5, $6, and then like that didn't last. Boy, man, like I'm trying to
A
find a
lot of
really
a
good.
lot of rookies going for pretty expensive and then getting stashed too.
I thought some of them went cheap though. You know, yes, I like those rookies that used to get abused like crazy. I mean, some did go for $25, $30, you know, and then some
Yeah.
cornerback. I think a cornerback went for like didn't Kobe Bryant go for like $35 or something like that? It's like
It's
it's
amazing
not.
how many Kobe's are out there these days.
Hey man, everyone's naming their kid Kobe. Who knows why? Don't see a lot of
Yeah.
LeBrons out there. It's just strange.
Well, there's only one LeBron.
I don't know. I've never seen anyone named LeBron outside of LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not touching that one.
I can't give a great one. Logan Hall for $10 to DT. That was pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. What about your least favorite other than Jack Gibbons?
Yeah, Jack Gibbons is wild. It's hard to come close. after that, you know.
Well, the safety too. I mean, 160.
Reed's definitely there. Like I can't even. Like I'm sitting there just going like, I had an offer. I think this is. I'm not gonna say who it was. I had an offer when I was getting a little frisky and desperate because like once I got Watts, I was like, ooh, I really like him at safety, you know. So I was like, I think I can spare a safety. So I was willing to like give up Harrison Smith for 2 6th rounders, and I was countered for 1 6th rounder with what's wrong with him. And then I just changed my mind. I'm like, oh, I can't do this. This is crazy.
No.
Like, it's
How much is his contract?
Huh?
How much is his contract?
$50.
Wow. Seems like a steal now.
He's going to play 100% snaps. He's going to get 150 to 170 points. Like, okay. Like he has every year.
Big Beefy got Deron Bland for $27 at cornerback. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that was a decent tip, but it's like cornerback was weird because like some are like, okay, that seems better in comparison, right? But like still, it's way more than we ever saw. I remember like Kenny Moore at $40 was like an unmovable contract for me, and he's like a slot quarter. He's been like top 5 forever. You know, he might be a little lower now, but it's like there's a lot of things that I think this auction might change values moving forward, or at least I'm coming back to this. Like next year, if somebody's like pissing with me on some value, I'd be like, yeah, look at these prices. Like, good luck, or you know.
Is it Devin White? Was it Devin White that you were down on in the last pod?
Yeah, but I don't think he went. I don't think he went
for
that
70,
I think
69.
That's fine. He's a backup.
Yeah.
But people were drafting him in these other leagues as a starter. I mean, Devin White was going for like $30, $40 in 16-team leagues, man. So it's like I thought that price was totally fine. Like he could play if there's an injury, you know. He could get 60% snaps if he wins that third role. So
all right. Anything to wrap up on the defensive side? I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, but we're not going to do another 3-hour pod tonight. So
no, we're definitely not. No, I would say I like your Jeff Okudah at $4, even though no one else probably does.
Yeah, well, I was getting desperate. I only had 2 cornerbacks going to the auction. I thought, well,
I mean, Jeff Okudah could be worth $0, but he's like 6'3", and he's the prototype.
He was the first-round draft pick, wasn't he?
Dude, he was like 6th overall or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was 2nd overall? Like, he was something ridiculous.
I don't think he was that high, but I'll take a flyer on him. I mean,
Detroit took him higher than any Detroit fan would ever want to admit.
Yeah. I would say top 7, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. That sounds
all right.
right.
So I approached this slightly different, and I didn't have enough time to finish this. I wanted to, and I just got distracted today with shit in life. But I looked at historically the last 5 years of the top 10 players on offense, based off of how much they win for. Okay, this year the average cost of those 10 players was $202. That's the lowest amount in the last 5 years.
For which position? All positions?
All the highest players are based off of how much they went for in the auction, right? By any position. So this year it was Tyreek Hill, Tony Pollard, Romeo Doubs, Jacoby Myers, Alec Pierce, Mike Evans, Rico Dowdle, Justice Hill, Devin Singletary, Kareem Hunt.
All offense.
The average,
yeah.
All of those guys were the average cost for those guys was $202. Okay, that's the lowest in the last 5 years. Last year, the average cost of the players.
Did you go before 5 years, or did you just stop at 5 years? Because I think that might be the lowest ever.
I stopped after.
Okay. I think that's the lowest in 10 years, and I will go back and look. But I think it's the lowest.
Yeah,
since
it's really easy to pull.
Startup league.
I ran out of time today, but Last year, the average cost was $258. Now, that was driven largely by three players going for 640, 356, and 300. That was A.J. Brown, Diggs, and Zach Moss. Okay. The year before that, it was 215, again, driven by really just one outrageous
Really, that
price
low?
tag of Kelsey. Okay. Everything else was pretty balanced, but I would say that was
Kelsey was
a very
for
weak
420.
very weak class as far as who was available. And then the year before that was 240, and that's when I'm not saying I started this trend, but that's when I completely overpaid for Devontae Adams at $450. I think I had won him in the first 12 hours. I think I had 507 on him. Was rebuilding, wanted to get him, no, and I knew I could trade him and figure out a way to move him. Now, what gets really interesting is you would think, okay, well, I spent a bunch of money on these, players, the 150 to $250 range. Well, they're all going to score points. So then I went back and I looked at last year how many of those players that went for between 130 and $640 at an average cost of 258 actually had a productive season. So AJ Brown definitely. Diggs had 124 points last season. He was hurt, whatever. I would say that's a fail. He was, you know, it's not a good investment of cash. Zach Moss, 88 points. Now, to be fair, in the first 8 games, that's when he had all 88 points, and he was on pace to score 160, 170 points. So for $300, he was arguably one of the best, backs and in the best situations in that auction.
I think he had a really good year in Indianapolis, and I think a lot of people thought could be the starter too.
And Justin, my brother, drafted him because had a good team, no running back, so he went in on all costs. Okay, didn't work out in that case, but still worth, in my opinion, the risk. James Conner went for 234 and scored 289 points, and guess whose team he is on, or was on?
He was on my team.
Jesus Barachos. Barachos.
I like the vets no one likes.
That's probably one of the better values in the 5 years. Okay, 289 points on a $234 contract, who is now on a franchise tag, I imagine, or a
transition tag.
Okay.
Mando's team, I believe.
Okay, so his contract probably went up slightly, right? Okay, but still probably going to have another productive year. Then we had Brandon Cooks. He went for 191, scored 66 points. Curtis Samuel, 190, went for 56 points. Tyler Lockett, 186, 116 points. Hunter Henry, $177, 145 points. Old man Adam Thielen, $174, 132. And then Taysom Hill, 129 and 120 points. So I would say out of all of that, out of those 10 players, maybe
what a gross
four
class.
of them, 4 of them, well, they're all gross. 4 of them actually returned value. Yeah. 2 of them, if impacted by injury, or their value would have been, and that's Diggs and Moss. Connor, absolute great value. Cooks and Samuel, dog shit value. Lockett, Hunter Henry, I'd say Hunter Henry's good value. $177, probably a little expensive, but at tight end, 145 points.
I think there wasn't a lot of tight ends available too.
Adam Thielen, good value at $174. Like, everybody doubts him. He's on this list a couple times. Okay. So we go into the year before that. I think this is 2023. Kelsey, obviously good year, $420 all day, whatever. You can reduce him in the franchise tag. He's gotten older, but if he retires, great. You get him off the books, or he's going to produce. Mike Williams went for $270 and scored 50 points. Darren Waller went for $241 and scored 105 points. Jacoby Myers, $190 and scored 202 points. Very good return value there. Boyd, $187, 145 points. Zay Jones, $176, 70 points. Thielen, $170 and 228 points. Extremely good return, and I know that very well because he helped me win a championship. I traded for him. Odell Beckham, $170, 108 points. Parker, absolute dog shit, 75 points at $161. And then Ertz, 160 with a $53 point season, or 53 point season. Okay, so again,
that's how I got him for $55 the following year.
studs performed, except for Mike Williams. I would say Waller was a bust, and then you had Boyd, Myers, Thielen, and that's about it. That actually returned value on it. So about half the guys returned value, and I would imagine several of those guys were traded in the season to other teams. My guess. I didn't get that far. The year before that, this is the last one. Adams, $450, 326 points, absolute value there, in my opinion. And he was traded for T. Higgins and a fur. So just to point this out, and this isn't about me. This isn't about me being smarter than everybody else. I'm just merely saying that you can move people that score points for value. So that trade was Georgia Warhorse gave up T. Higgins, Malik Reed, and none other than Levante David, who also helped me win a championship the following year, for Devontae Adams, I don't know, D'Angelo Malone, Dane Jackson, a decent quarterback, and a year 114, year 314, and 518 draft picks. So I still have T. Higgins on my team, and he's only $150. I would say that's an investment of moving production around to get people that are long-term assets, and someone that I actually traded him. I think you traded him for Jamison Williams, and or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I got Levante David out of it, who was a throwaway player that I ended up franchise tagging, and got 3 years of production out of him. So the point being that you
Can't fuck with Levante David.
You can take assets, spend money on them, and improve your situation over the long term if you're savvy enough, I think. Does it always work out? No.
It didn't work out with me for Kelsey, because as soon as I got him on the franchise tag, everyone's just like, he's washed, he's going to retire, and
He ain't washed until he retires. That's the point.
I think when I franchise tagged him, he was $167 or something like that. It's like, okay, have fun with Hunter Henry at $177.
So then we had Ezekiel Elliott, $372, and he scored 222 points. The problem with Elliott is that he probably got tagged and then was completely a bust after that. So he probably got stuck with that contract.
The Tyler Boyd one that you ripped off, that was turned into a franchise tag and ended up being one of the worst contracts we've ever seen in the league.
And I can't remember who got Boyd that year and if it helped him, compete, or if they traded him off, but still not a bad return. 187. You have to be very conscious.
He got traded to Tennessee, and off of that anticipation, there was a franchise tag, I think. But oof.
Allen Robinson, $300 and scored 85 points. 238 for Devontae Parker, and he scored 79, and then was back in the pool the next year and went for, I don't know why we didn't learn our lesson, but 161 and scored 75 points.
People always loved Devontae Parker.
He
had one good year, and everyone just waiting for him to come back.
Something about those 6'3", 210-pound wide receivers. 195 for Marvin Jones and scored 114 points. Zach Ertz, $195 and scored 115. Back in the pool the next year. Gus Edwards, $175, 75 points. J.D. McKissick, $165 for $48. Sterling Shepard, $164 for 54 points. And A.J. Green at the tail end of his career, $141. I think he was like 30 years old for 43.
Sounds like we're talking about football in the 80s. Like, that's how long ago that sounds, and it was only a few years ago.
So I only went over that to kind of point out a few things. You're taking extreme risk on guys that are in the top 10 in your auction and spending money on the lower tier people of that. Now, there has been return on some of those guys, all right? But the ones that you overspend for, A.J. Brown, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, I'd throw Diggs into that category if he hadn't been hurt, okay? Those guys have returned value every year, even though you're overpaying for them.
Yeah, and you're an injury out of a good player on a contender from cleaning his entire closet of picks for that type of player.
So now we're gonna go through the people this year, and we're gonna either grade it as a AJ. We'll call it the Kelsey Award. Travis Kelsey or Devontae Parker. It doesn't matter if they're running back or wide receiver. Just which one are they in this year's top 10? Tyreek Hill.
Oh, price comparison?
No, is he, out of the example that I gave, a top tier performer and going to return production at
Okay.
$276, or is he a
Is he
Devontae
is he a
Parker?
Fugazi? What
Yeah,
is
there you
it?
go.
Is he?
So I'll say Tyreek Hill, even though it won't be as dominant as he has been in the past. He could go to a contender and absolutely light a fucking spark plug
Tyreek Hill
underneath
went
him.
for what, 269?
He was the most expensive at 276, which
Yes.
is almost $200 cheaper than any other player in the last 4 years at the top of the auction.
Yeah, I get that. Like these top guys are just like you don't see the franchise tag as like the next step, but man, bare minimum, you have a TT for him if he like comes back. It's Tyreek Hill, dude. You know what? The Tyreek Hill was being taken like first overall last year.
Yeah.
And like it's like okay, like that's
There's
it's
no
too cheap.
reason
It's
there's
too cheap.
absolutely no reason why Tyreek Hill should have went for
It should have
$276,
been a minimum of 350.
without a doubt, without a doubt. And I blame a lot of people for that.
I would blame the chance of the way the league flows and makes us
It's
surprise.
all good. I'm just okay. So we're gonna say Tyreek Hill's an AJ Brown category of going to return
Oh
value,
yeah, he'll return
close
value,
to a value. Okay. Tony
barring
Pollard.
injury.
Tony Pollard, $230 or an arrest. Tony Pollard.
I think he will return value of $230.
I think 230 was a very favorable price for him. I think he'll be probably a 50-50 timeshare with Todd J. Spears, but he's still valuable, even if it's a 1 year contract that could be moved at a position that nobody has depth at. And injuries will happen and cap will free back up and people will pay for Tony Pollard if he's scoring 10,
What's
12
this
points a
over
game.
under on fantasy points? 180?
I'd have to look it up.
No, what do you think? Like 180? What's a running
Uh,
back that gets you 180 worth to you in an auction where there's no running backs?
well, he's worth three-fourths of the money that you spent on him for sure. So that's why I look at points
Yeah,
per point scored or dollars per point scored, and I would say he's on a 75 percentile of that of the 230 contract.
yeah.
All right, Romeo Dobbs, $223. That is the biggest. Um, I don't understand it. I will never understand it, especially because Mike Evans was there for $200. To me, that's probably one of the worst decisions in the draft in the auction. I've talked to Brute Force about this, and he's not going to like it. He's the fourth wide receiver on his team. He's not going to be extended. He's not franchise taggable. He can't get an extended contract. So, what would he have to score this year for you to franchise tag him? And how would he do that? How is he going to do that? Like, I
Uh,
just don't understand the
Even if he
I don't
was like,
understand.
let's say he's a like transition tag candidate,
So for 250,
220 plus another that'd be $44,
44,
so
so 260.
265.
Wow. I
I
mean,
mean,
okay, if Brute Force is trying to compete and he thinks he has all right, but to me, I just don't see a strategy in place to spend $223 on him, like when Mike Evans was available for 200, Justice Hill was available for 171. Like I mean, like I think people got locked in on positions as opposed to best players available and like who has the best opportunity to help you trade for assets. And I just don't. I don't. There's no upside to taking Romeo Dobbs at 223. I think he'll score at most 110 points this season, and at that point you can't franchise tag him, and that's not enough to really trade him to a contender at that price to where there's anything that you can do with a 1 year contract. So I don't understand it. So I'm a big negative on that one.
Okay, well, there's a few things. So he's younger, so I guess there's something to be
Yeah.
said about that. Do you know that what him and Mike Evans have in common?
Nothing.
They're the highest paid wide receiver on their team. Do you know how much Romeo
man.
Doubs is getting paid?
No.
$3.5 million.
Wow.
Do you know how much Mike Evans is getting paid?
27.
Yeah, 25 and change. Probably that's without incentives, so who knows? 30?
I mean, I get that people don't want to, lock in a dynasty league older players, but again, I go back to the point. I don't care what Romeo
Mike Evans
Doubs
is the most disrespected person in fantasy in the history of fantasy.
Okay. I put him in the Kelsey category. As long as he's on the field, he's going to score points. I just, again, don't understand. Romeo Doubs, with almost 95% certainty, will be back in the pool next year and will be half the cost, if that. So it doesn't matter about dynasty. Like, there's not a contract that's available to him that extends him on your team for more than 1 year anyway. So why spend $223 on him? I just don't understand.
Dynasty value is overblown by contracts and like the specific types of contracts we're talking about, right? And we go over this. Like a rookie contract, you can extend 5 years, then franchise. You can keep a long time. But in a free agency market, man, it's like you got to give that guy a contract.
I want to be upfront. I want everybody to know that I've had open conversations with Larry about this. This isn't something that he's going to hear and feel like he's being attacked. Like we've talked offline about this same exact conversation. I'm using it as an example because I just I'm confused by it. He knows I'm confused by it. We laughed about it a little bit when I said, "Hey man, at least you'll be able to get him next year for $90."
I think Romeo Doubs at 220 would have been totally fine if Mike Evans went for 380 and Tyreek Hill went for 350.
Yeah, but I would put him in that Devontae Parker category of going for 238 and scoring $79. It's just like he's not a stud. He has no track record.
He's not in the same conversation.
All right, so let me add a little.
Unless he's going to sign him for 5 years and just see what happens.
So Larry picked up Romeo Doubs, Rico Dowdle for 196. So he now has $49 wrapped up in two players. And then he backed up Rico Dowdle with Blackshear for I think another $44. So with that money, he could have bought both Tyreek Hill and Mike Evans. Now, what's a better strategy? Those three players or Mike Evans and Tyreek Hill?
Do you want to know what the combined salary is of Raheem Blackshear and Rico Dowdle, Corey?
196 and 44, I think. So it's $240.
No, I'm talking about in real life. Rico Dowdle is getting $2.7 million and Blackshear's getting $1 million, and they're both only on 1 year.
The fact that
deals.
you can pull that out of your head is absolutely insane, by the way. Kudos to you.
I was looking at that earlier, and again, when I was like manifesting this idea that I would like probably do some segments where I would break down like maybe it's by division that I can break down like teams cap and what I feel about them and how it pertains to fantasy. I kind of went super nerdy on this exploration today, but why I remember it is because Trevor Etienne, outside of, well, there's Jonathan Brooks in there, right? But it's Chuba Hubbard and Trevor Etienne that are like actually have long-term contract values, and these other guys are expendable to an extent.
That's my point. There's also, they drafted a rookie. They just signed Chuba Hubbard, who's actually the lead dog. Dowdle was okay.
I didn't realize how much money they gave Chuba Hubbard. I think he was like, I think it's his fourth year. He's still getting like $10 million. Like he got paid like as much as like Barkley did.
Rico Dowdle?
No, Hubbard.
Oh yeah, he got paid. He got like 40 million over 3 years.
His cap hit's like $6 million this year, and then it like. But I know his like third and fourth year are like around $10 million. I don't know if they can get out of those years, but I saw the contract. I was like, I thought running backs weren't getting paid.
I just think Rico Dowdle is so expendable. Like I just don't
Yeah,
imagine there's
that's
a
what I
world in which
mean.
he's.
That's what I mean. Like if Rico Dowdle is the third back, and they're just like Chuba is the guy, and then we need to work in ATN because he's going to be our long term guy, and then they have Jonathan Brooks coming back. Who knows what the hell that's going to be when he comes back? Like they could cut Dowdle, or he could just be relegated to emergency, you know. And then Blackshear might not make the team. Like plain simple.
All right, so I'm gonna and I whatever.
Sorry, like we should save this for when we're dissecting.
Backup.
Yeah. We should save this for when we dissect people's individual rosters. I just have all these salaries fresh that are coming out.
Larry knows that I love him and that I enjoy our conversations, and I'm really happy he's a part of these. He's going to do very well in this league. So thank you for allowing me to rip you to shreds on the podcast today in front of everybody. I appreciate it, Larry.
We're not
Alec
ripping
Pierce,
anybody. Everybody's strategy is their own.
it's just it's conversational. I'm trying to understand the strategy. I don't understand it. Okay, Jacoby Myers, I'm completely fine at 218. He had a kind of a breakout year last year.
I think that's fair, right?
I think that's fair value. It's gross compared to Mike Evans going for 200, but
we gotta just take Mike Evans and Tyreek Hill out of this conversation, or else everything's gross.
I'm actually fine with Alec.
For historical draft purposes, I think Jacoby Myers at that price is
he's an Adam Thielen type return on the investment. If
he's gone cheap in all these other leagues, I noticed he was like treated very second tier. You know, like very like I don't know. For example, if wide receivers were going for 150, 180, he was going for 55.
Yeah.
And so here I thought he was more expensive, but I thought he was actually justified.
I think that's great. I think that's a good value
in this league. Yeah.
Alec Pierce, I'm okay with that $200. It's a gamble. I think he could either be Devontae Parker or he could be Tyler Boyd-ish.
He might be the best wide receiver on that roster. I'll just say that.
I like Josh Downs a lot.
I think there's a lot of statistics that say Alec Pierce is frisky.
I think he's a great deep ball threat, but I think Daniel Jones is going to pepper the shit at 3-yard targets, just like he did to other receivers in the Giants pass. So
I don't hate him for 200. I just
we already talked about there's nothing to say about Mike Evans. It's grossly disrespectful to Mike Evans.
Wait, so he ended up being 6th most expensive wide receiver taken?
5th most expensive wide receiver and 6th most expensive player. Yeah.
6th most expensive player.
The fact that he didn't go for $350 is baffling to me.
I put it in the chat. I couldn't remember. It's like $13,000 and cap was available.
So many people with cash still to spend could still afford Mike Evans today. Justice Hill, I loved it at 171. I think he was the best. I think the safest running back in this class in this free agency. I think he started taking on a little bit more of a role towards the end of the season. I think they'll try to lean on him a little bit more, like especially on passing downs and a few more running downs. Like I think he's just a very solid 171 for a running back that. Okay, so maybe Tony Pollard's a better upside player, but I like Justice Hill's value there. Think it's completely fine.
I didn't like it at first, Corey, because I was like, I've always been a Keaton Mitchell fan. So I probably, if I didn't have my dive today, I would have, because I know Mitchell's on a 1-year deal and Justice Hill has 2 years, and it's like, it's pretty girthy. I think it's like $8 million between the 2 years. So it's like, they're pretty committed to him.
Dude, every time I watched him play last year, I was just like,
yeah, he's good, man. He's always been good. He just always gets hurt. All their running backs always get hurt. I don't know what goes on there, except for Henry last year. But like their running backs always get hurt. They've always had these flashes. Go ahead.
We have Devin Singletary for 151. Don't like
Ugh,
it.
gross. Yikes.
And Kareem Hunt for 151. I don't like it either. I just, yeah. I mean, I much prefer Elijah Mitchell for $121 than Kareem Hunt for 151.
Oh my God, there was I'm not going to remember it. There was something that I was going to have to apologize to you about.
Rashard Smith.
No, well, it was more about how ridiculous the cap situation was. I'm going to try and remember it. It was the top four, which don't include Rashard. Okay, so the top four running backs are Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, and Carson Steele.
Yeah.
Their four combined contracts are less than Noah Gray is making this year.
Yeah.
So I was going to come and say, well, seeing that nobody's making any money whatsoever at the running back
like
position.
Competition.
Well, I don't know. I guess that's why I talk myself into these running backs. Maybe I'm just bitter that the 1 year I'm off of Kansas City running backs, I'm not going to hit it, because the last 2 years I tried and didn't work out.
Listen, I'm hopeful. That's all you can be. I took a flyer, and I could be completely wrong, but I like what I'm hearing, and
I know Elijah Mitchell is the highest paid too, and then Kareem
he's
Hunt,
explosive. He just can't stay healthy.
and then
he looked good
Pacheco.
when
Is Pacheco still on his rookie deal?
Oh, I can't imagine they've extended him because he's been hurt.
Because he's been hurt. He's only being paid like $1 million and change.
That's gross. I mean, he runs way too hard to get paid $1 million. Like, that guy's gonna die on the field.
Man. That whole backfield was just
wood.
like, again, Noah Gray. I think Noah Gray's at like $5 million, and like they don't even combine for $5 million. So it's just like, that's fucking crazy.
All right, let's pull some other ones out of here. I'm just gonna go through the most expensive and try to find some ones. I like I said, I like the Elijah Mitchell. I don't mind Zach Ertz for 125.
But what was Elijah Mitchell? I thought he was like really like 152.
121.
Okay, still for a shot in the dark, but it's like it's crazy.
The problem is it's probably a 1 year deal. Like
they're all 1 year deals. Everyone's on a 1 year deal. That's the thing. It's like Pacheco is cheap, but if they're all equal at 20...
Ben. I mean, it's a 1 year contract and that you can sign. Like what would Elijah Mitchell have to do in order to? And you can't put him to a 2 year deal because he could.
No, you pay him. No. A guy like that, him and Hunt probably should both be 1 year, and then like you're gonna just transition tag them after.
Sell them for a fifth or sixth if they're performing at the end of the season.
I mean, like, just think if they perform above average or one of them's the backup and they're relevant and they can be, I mean, if somebody wants to franchise tag them, fine. But even a transition tag, you might get like a third round pick for him next year.
Hunter Henry went for $100. I thought that was pretty decent value.
Yeah, not 177 anymore. What changed? I don't even. Isn't the situation the same?
The quarterback changed, I think.
But isn't Drake May better?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I think it's a pretty good value. Like I think out of all the tight ends,
if anything, he should be 177 now because he's got Drake May. Maybe I don't know. I thought that was cheap too. I thought it was really cheap.
I mean, there were so many targets that I had. Tyler Lockett for $90 is pretty. Tennessee, he's. I don't know. He's old as shit.
What if he plays the slot? What if he plays the slot? Again, man, back. I'm going back to that story again, man. I'm going back to that story. Like, is he washed up or was he put out of the game plan? Like, if they just ignored him and Metcalf and were like, we're just going with JSM and fuck both of you, maybe those numbers we're looking at for both these players are not representative of their current talent. Just put that in your mind and let it sit.
Yeah, they just have so many young players in there, and I think he'll be a veteran presence and a safe target. But they have all those rookie wide receivers. They have
Tyler Lockett could be a 25 catch guy, or he could be an 80 catch guy. I wouldn't be surprised either.
I'll take the under on the 80.
No, you take the under in the middle because I said 25 or 80 is the high.
Okay.
So.
let's see, a couple more here. Overall, I mean, Darren Waller going for $73. Wow. I mean, I don't get it. Good
I
luck.
do. I do. I get it. I think that's high, but I still get it. Like, what are you, a Julian Hill believer? Did you see what, like, like John Juice Smith put up 22 points or something last year in that offense?
They're very different. They're very different players. Sean Smith's
Well, he
got more
hasn't
of a
played in a year, and
fullback.
but like, let's say they gave him $6 million to play. It's not nothing.
I was all over Will Disley and Mike Williams, and I mean, I was going to expend almost up to whatever Abe Froman got, $87 for Mike Williams.
Will
And I'm,
Disley,
I'm glad I didn't get
Corey,
him. I'm glad I didn't get him, and he'll probably have 7, 8
what did
touchdowns
Will
and have
Disley go
a
for?
$88.
And then Conklin was like 70.
Yeah, they both went way more expensive than I thought. I mean, but I mean,
So so again, like I'm
it's
probably
a tough
gonna.
bet to figure out which one of them is going to actually produce.
I need to look at contracts more often when I'm gonna value players like this in these weird situations. Will Disley, if I'm not mistaken, got like 3 years, 45 million. Like he got way more money than Conklin, and I think he's like they're not going to cut him and they're going to use him. Like what I saw
I
from
think
the
it's I think
contracts.
it's I think it's $10 million, 2 years, 10 million or something like that. I'll have to look it up real quick.
Okay, I just remember because we had this conversation of like how what the odds are of the that rookie.
Sorry, 3 year 3 year 14 million with a 4,500 signing bonus, so it's 10,000 guaranteed. That's where I messed
Ten
up,
thousand
but yeah.
guarantee, but like, yeah, Will Disley over 2 years. Just get 6 million this year and 5.5 next year, dude. That's not peanuts. That's starting way. That's starting tight end money
Yeah, do you know what Farrell's contract is?
for the
The
49ers.
backup for yeah,
Like I think I saw it was like it's a 3 year deal too, right?
3 years for 22 million.
Yeah, I saw that and just was blown away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
My
if
dog.
something happens to Kelsey, who's going to be on the field? He's on the field a lot, so that's why. I mean, I was like, he was my target. I knew that Disley and Conklin were going to go too expensive for what my budget was, so I was like, that was my target.
But
I
in
think the only
previous leagues
person,
they were pretty similar also. And I just like I thought I've seen Conklin be good. I don't know if I remember seeing Will Disley be that good. But like after I saw that money, I'm like, maybe like we should be paying more attention to Will Disley.
Samaje Perine for $78. I don't understand that much. I like Josh Reynolds and the Jets for $73. I think that's a really good, safe kind of return on value there. Let's see, a couple more. Oh shit, Ben got disconnected. That's
No,
not
I'm not
good.
disconnected.
He's coming back, folks.
I'm not disconnected. You can hear
Oh,
me.
okay, you can hear me. It's well, you were. It says reconnecting on the screen, so and you're cutting out.
The good news is
Um,
I upload
it's all
independently
good.
from you,
You
so
got
it
the
won't
old.
skip.
You got old Bobby Trees. You got Bobby Trees for 45. Walk me through that one.
Bobby Trees, I don't know, like for me, Aaron Rodgers doesn't. Am I cutting out? This is weird. I think I might have lost you.
Yeah, I can't hear anything you're saying, Ben.
Yeah, I lost you for a second. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. My internet just had a hop skip. Can you hear me now?
Pura Vida, kind of.
Wow. We probably should have stuck to the hour and a half.
Well, let's wrap this up because we're having technical difficulties. I will say we'll continue a little bit more of the offensive discussion. I want to pick apart a few more of the key players that I thought went for a less expensive and are pretty good buys next time, and then we'll still have some of the draft or the auction to complete next time. And then we're going to go into the divisional reviews of each team. So that should be exciting for everybody. We'll pick a division each week and kind of assess every person and where we think they're at, and kind of do like we do in the NFL, like where we think they're going to rank and who the contenders are and who the pretenders are. So that's always fun. And as always, give us your feedback. We enjoy doing this. We hope you guys enjoy listening. And good luck with the rest of the auction. Peace
Yeah.
out.